Update. Am I the a-hole for wanting to break up with my girlfriend after her ex's funeral? Original post. So my girlfriend and I have been together for about 4 years. She used to be close friends with her ex. However, he tried to make a move on her while she and I were together. So she cut off their friendship. They knew each other for about 10 years. They were high school sweethearts and stayed together throughout college. They broke up because he did not want kids. He died recently, and my girlfriend was invited to the funeral. While I wasn't happy, so to speak, to see my girlfriend cry about this guy, I swallowed my emotions and offered my full support. She asked me to come with her, and here's where things get messy. She kept talking about she wishes they never broke up in the first place, and that she's never met someone who she loved as much as him. She made a speech about how she says that if things had been different, they'd be a happy family with children. I had to force myself not to say anything then. Now we're back home, she hasn't said anything about what she said. I'm so close to just leaving, but I just don't know if she only said that out of grief. Now for the top comments before reading the update. She would have left you in a heartbeat if he had told her he was ready for kids. You're not her first choice. Yeah, imagine what the guests had over to Opie's girlfriend. Guests and family. That was a lovely speech. They look at Opie. Oh, who are you? Opie, her boyfriend. Guests and family. Oh, it's messed up. Me? I'm just a guy filling in for the dead guy. OP, you do not want to be Will Smith. You do not. GTFO. Not a-hole. People can say, be understanding. She's dealing with a heavy loss. But that doesn't magically fix the sting of the words she said that hurt you. If this was within 6 months of the breakup, maybe I'd be more understanding. However, you've been together for 4 years. They ended due to his desire to not have children. So not only is she hurting you, she's lying about the dead guy by telling everyone the fantasy life she'd imagined for them, as if it was holy writ. She's more than allowed to feel grief due to their decade-long history. However, she's not allowed to treat you as less than, second, or just good enough. You 100% deserve someone who puts you first always, with very rare exceptions, and this ain't one of them, honey, as I'm sure you've done for her. Heck, you went with her to the funeral of her ex because she asked. You were there for her, and she showed you where you rank in the grand scheme of things. Leave for you. Choose to put yourself first, because guess what? She showed you in a room full of people where you rank. You deserve more than this betrayal. Maybe by if things had been different, she meant if he'd wanted kids, or something like that. If she's already in if-only land, it's not a huge stretch for her to think if he'd wanted kids, we would have stayed together. And if we'd stayed together, we would have had kids. And maybe he wouldn't have been in the situation that led to his death because of the butterfly effect or something. Who knows? OP should leave her. It sucks to be the settled-for backup, and she shouldn't be saying these kinds of things where he can hear, or honestly, even where he can't. Now for the update. Hello everyone. It's been a stressful couple of days, and my post got a lot more attention than I expected. It was overwhelming, to be honest. It's been a week since the funeral itself, and I've been talking to some friends, as well as reading comments on my last post. Truth be told, I've been hesitant to talk about this to my girlfriend because she's still been depressed. She's not talking to me at all, and I've been taking care of everything around our place. She's just been laying in our bed. I've tried to talk to her, but she just shuts me out. I've been reflecting on our past relationship and realized a couple things. My girlfriend was never as passionate with me as she was with her ex. She never did anything as romantic or thoughtful for me when compared to her ex. For example, she's never gone traveling for more than 3 days with me, but she traveled often with her ex, sometimes for years. It's not like I haven't offered, I was simply told to get over it, and that each relationship is different, and people said stuff like, if she wanted to be with her ex, she would be. Something also to note is that some of you actually pointed my attention to another post. One that's about a girl going to her ex's funeral. I read a post, and I don't know if it's actually my girlfriend or not. Some details are different, like our age. We're both 30. Also, I never said anything about breaking up with her for going to the funeral. I wasn't exactly happy to see her mourn the guy who wanted to sleep with her while she was with me, but I didn't actually say anything. Now, the post admitted that she actually cheated. I thought about this for a second, but it doesn't matter. Because if she cheated or not, I already broke up with her. I did have a talk with her. She refused to at first by not responding to me, but when I told her I was leaving, she finally said something to me. I basically told her that I feel crap ever since she said those things at a funeral. How I feel like she would rather be with her ex than me. That I felt like her second choice. She started to yell at me, calling me selfish and that she's lost one of the most important people in her life, and I shouldn't make this about me. I was too tired to try to yell back. My things were already packed up. I'm staying with my parents for a while. Our lease doesn't expire for a few months, so I don't know what she's planning to do. I don't know what to do now. I thought I was gonna marry this girl someday and have kids, but she wanted someone else all this time. I appreciate all the comments, and I don't know if I'm gonna post another update, but thank you. Calling me selfish and that she's lost one of the most important people in her life, and I shouldn't make this about me. Here's the thing. She didn't lose one of the most important people in her life. She made it clear that she lost the most important person in her life. From your other post, she kept talking about she wishes they never broke up in the first place and that she's never met someone who she loved as much as him. She made a speech about how she says that if things had been different, they'd be a happy family with children. I don't know what other conclusions to read from this. I could certainly see feeling sad or down when an ex that you've known for a significant part of your life passes away. But that's not only what occurred. She wishes they never broke up. She's never met someone who loved her as much as he did. And if things had been different, they would still be together. In each of those thoughts, you are, at best, second place. Never includes you. She is with you because they broke up. She doesn't think you can ever love her as much as he did. And if things were different with him, she would not be with you. Is she mourning him and the significance he had had in her life? Or is she mourning someone she still loved and mourning the loss of the opportunity to still be with him? You're not selfish, and you do not want to be with someone where you will always be a placeholder. I think this is an excellent take. I have a friend whose ex died a while back. They were together for a few years, and they ultimately broke up because of incompatible life goals. They were both really torn up about it, and it took her a while to move on, but she did. As time went on, she would sometimes talk about things in their relationship that weren't that great, or she looked back on now and saw some other issues that were glossed over in the moment. All in all, she reflected on their relationship fondly, but it just didn't work out. She dated some other people, but nothing serious. Then, he died in a tragic accident and she was devastated. And I truly understood. Their relationship had been quite serious, probably the most serious one she'd ever had. They broke up so they could both be happier living the lives they wanted, but then he died. He's not out there living his life. He's gone. It took time, nearly a year, but today she truly has mourned him and moved on. There was no what-ifs or the one who got away. They made their decision back then that there was no future between them. She hadn't been pining for him the whole time. What she mourned was him losing his future and the pain that his loss caused his family. She's back out there dating again and really does seem ready now. OP's ex clearly hoped that her ex would change his mind and had been dating OP to keep herself occupied until that time. Now that her ex is gone, he's going to forever be on a pedestal and no one else will ever measure up. I hope she gets some therapy so she can move on for real and stop lying to herself about what she's doing. Man, you are doing the right thing. You absolutely deserve someone who loves you as the first priority. I wish you all the best for your future. OP has finally decided to stand up for himself and we are all proud of him for doing it. For her to scream that she lost one of the most important people in her life really dodged a bullet. This, like, damn ma'am, did you hear nothing he just said to you? Nope, because she only cares about herself. Might be why her ex dumped her. Hard to date somebody when their head is up their own behind. Last story. Update. Am I the a-hole for rolling my eyes at my boyfriend's proposal because it took 25 years of me begging? Original post. Yesterday after dinner, my 52 female boyfriend of 30 years, 53 male, proposed to me. He just walked towards me holding a box and said to open it. It was a ring, and I had pictured this moment a million different times, but never thought I'd be so apathetic. My boyfriend then said that he was retired now and wants to kick back and enjoy life with me, and would love to do it all with me as his wife. A nice speech and all, but from the 5-year mark of our relationship onwards, I had been making clear my deep desire to marry, and was consistently dismissed, given empty promises, gaslit. We had been through the gamut with therapy, and one counselor implied that me telling him we needed to go to therapy and getting his butt on a couch still means nothing if his mind has been made up. I was in denial about the fact he was just giving me the false illusion of progress to stall. My boyfriend and I have 4 kids. The oldest 3 are adults, while the youngest is 15 female who was sleeping over elsewhere when this all went down. All of our kids went to a private school filled with typical Southern soccer parents. I had to endure PTA mom's jabs about me not sharing a last name with my kids. Preteen years were hell, because the other kids would taunt my kids by saying, "Your dad would rather sin and go to hell than marry your mom." My boyfriend's mom would tell him marriage would be selfish on my part. It is just a piece of paper. My boyfriend ended up rising up the ranks until he became an executive. I was his stay-at-home mom, so I felt like there was always a power imbalance, exasperated by the fact I could be tossed away any time. I partly did stay because I wanted my kids to have the best life, and because I felt lucky and proud to be partnered with such an intelligent, successful man, but also because I loved him. These past few years, my boyfriend's career has taken a downturn. He will never be poor, but a company he was part of took a nosedive during 2020, and he had made enemies out of associates and board members. He decided to step back from his role and take the generous severance agreed upon. Now he is living off his investments and wants to relax. I did not like how his career ended and how he treated people, and had been deciding whether I wanted to leave and find somebody else after our youngest turns 18. So, the proposal was a shock because I should hope that he noticed I have avoided conversations about the future as of late. He rattles on about downsizing our house so we can travel, and also cutting back on our other expenses. But we're not married, so it's all his money/house anyway. He did notice my eye roll and was offended. He asked what's wrong, and I said that suddenly now that he's downsizing I'm good enough to marry? He got mad and said that now that he's downsizing and no longer an executive, I suddenly think our relationship is disrespectful, and started implying I was a gold digger. I was so angry I walked out. I said I might just go out looking for a respectful relationship because I don't know what respect is anymore. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments before reading the update. If you were begging for him to propose, why did you stay for 25 years? Because I was a stay-at-home mom of many kids, and he was this big executive, so I felt if I offended him in any way, he'd use his influence to screw me in a custody battle, or otherwise make my life miserable. He has noticed that you've been pulling away from him. That's why he's chosen to propose now. If he wanted to marry you, he'd have done it years ago. This is just an attempt to make you stay by giving you what you wanted. The retirement is just a convenient excuse. Some studies seem to indicate that as men experience a drop in testosterone, they suddenly start to value relationships a lot more, with both their kids and their partners. Depending on just how poorly they've treated everyone, they may find they've burned those bridges, leaving them no choice but to get a new wife and start a whole new family at 50. I'm sort of kidding about that last bit, but it's why I'm not sure what I make of the studies. They provide convenient cover for do-over families instead of putting in the work to atone for the harm one has caused. All of that to say, it's theoretically possible that now that his career has failed, he realized just how much he does in fact want Opie to be his permanent partner. But it's still crappy of him to think just because his mind has finally changed, she should be happy. And in her shoes, I'd walk. What did he expect? What did you expect? Like seriously, you wanted a marriage but you stayed half your life with someone so set on making you the bad guy for wanting that until recently? Why would you stay with someone like that? Why would you reproduce with someone like that? Several times. It's just disappointing for your kids to suffer that much bullying for this. Like all for nothing. I don't know who the a-hole is, but unfortunately for him, he kind of missed his chance. And unfortunately for you, you put yourself in a box. Not the a-hole for rolling your eyes, but everyone sucks here. You for enabling him to do you dirty for 25 years. Get all of the privileges of being a husband without ever being your husband. You begged someone to marry you, the value you have which you didn't, and you proceeded to have several children with him. Like, girl, stand up please. He wasted your whole life and now he's playing in your face. Now for the update. At the time of my original post, my boyfriend and I had not spoken since the engagement fight. I've been with him long enough to know that when he goes and closes the bedroom door before I get in, that's a signal that I should sleep in one of the guest rooms. So I did that. However, this morning I broke the ice. I told him about how dismissed I felt over the years. I also said that we are both in our 50s, and these last few years have taught us that people at work who kiss the ground you walk on one day can easily turn on you the next. And true partners in life are valuable and hard to find, so I wished he'd treat me like I'm valued. Instead, he treats me like he thinks prettier, better, and just as loving is always around a corner. I apologized for the eye roll, but told him that if he wants marriage, I want a quick committed timeline and genuine happiness from him to be marrying me. I don't need a big party. He listened to me and finally asked if this was about the money/security. He told me that being an executive's girlfriend required things of me, but if I wanted to work, I could have. He said he doesn't think I'm grateful enough for the position in society I was in due to his career. But that is not mad about the eye roll. He said he didn't succeed by being that sensitive. He went on to say I was not his prisoner, so I can leave at any time. But to remember he won't tolerate being made my prisoner either via manipulation. He said that for what it's worth, the engagement ring is mine and I could do whatever I wanted with it. He will also not be accused of not providing for his daughter, so be assured he won't shirk child support. But that it felt what I said before was emotional blackmail. So he no longer wants to go forward with marrying, but says if I'd like to travel with him, that's fine. Him traveling is non-negotiable, and so if I wanted to get a job, it would have to be a remote job. It was a sad conversation, and I spent a few hours alone after that. I felt I had nothing to lose, so I just asked him if he would support me getting an associate's. But that most associates for technical careers were in person. It then dropped the bombshell that if I wasn't traveling with him, he wasn't going to go those periods without sex. I was astounded by his callousness, because he's back to take it or leave it. We fought again with me saying we're all feeling the effects of age. I've supported him through health issues, and if he thinks he can just find somebody who has that loyalty I've shown him, he's wrong. At this point, I'm looking for ways out. I can't say I haven't been tempted to say I'll travel with him and try to get a remote job, but also realize how resentful I am that he continues to need to have the power in the relationship. I don't think I'll ever know my value truly, but something's telling me there has to be a better out there, at least in a partner. Am I the a-hole for not telling my girlfriend about my savings? Original post. I, 20 male, have been working since I was 14. I grew up very poor and watched my dad work 2 jobs to make ends meet. My first job was at Publix, working 15 to 20, maybe 25 hours a week, but my dad made sure I saved all my money unless I wanted a new video game or a pair of shoes, but he still wouldn't let me splurge like I wanted. He paid for all my food and phone bill until he passed away when I was 16. I started working in a restaurant and the manager gave me a lot of hours. I'd clock in at 9 a.m. as a prep cook and then clock in at 4 p.m. as a busser. I wouldn't clock out until like 11 to 12 p.m. I was making at least $800 a week during the summer as a 16-year-old. It was great. I saved up about $3,000 that whole summer. Then when I'd leave school, I'd clock in from 4 p.m. to 10 p.m. and work the rest of my shift under the table. I saved up at least $5,000 through the whole school year. I was always very frugal with money and never cared for the nicer clothes. I still dressed nice, but no desire to wear designer clothes. Well, now that I work full-time for the past 2 to 3 years, I have roughly $30,000, more or less. I started dating my girlfriend 2 years ago, and I always say I'm broke when I have less than $500 in my checking account. I'm not necessarily saving up for anything because I live with my sister and she doesn't make me pay any bills, except for the light bills / my phone plan and the stuff that I want. My girlfriend doesn't have as good as money management as I do. Whenever she gets sad, she likes to retail therapy. I've never understood why, but her parents spoiled her growing up, so I figured that plays a part. But oh well, everyone has their own ways of dealing with the sadness, and that's hers. Well, she was asking if I could send her like $200 to $300 for something. Won't disclose what, and I told her to send it to herself through my bank. I didn't think she'd go through my whole bank app and click on my savings, but she saw I had $2,500 in my checking and went to my savings. She came to me and showed me my phone and was like, "We're rich. You must have been selling drugs or something, haha." I did find it funny, but I tried to tell her easy that we're not spending that. And she then thought about it and looked at the transactions over the years and added it all up and was like, "You never mentioned anything about this account." I said, "Because that money isn't wealth. It's a savings in case anything bad happens." Now, I will say I'm not stingy with money. I just don't spend money on things I don't need. I still take my girlfriend out to eat every week and buy her flowers. I make sure she feels her worth, which is more than that money I have saved. We just look at money differently. If anything were to ever happen to her, I'd obviously care for her and take money out of that account for her. But she started talking about how she doesn't need to work if I have that type of money. I explained that money isn't wealth once again, and $30,000 can be gone in the blink of an eye. She wasn't having it. I told her we can start a savings account together that will strictly be for trips, activities, etc. She said I already have the money for that. I responded, "This is why I didn't mention the money to you, because you'd want to spend it all in a matter of a month." She broke down crying, saying I didn't trust her and I don't love her. I plan on marrying this woman and love her to death, but I don't want to jeopardize something I worked years on to save and be comfortable financially. I don't use credit cards or anything yet, and I am in no debt. I do see where she's coming from, and I could see where I'm in the wrong by not disclosing this with her, but I knew I'd have to start from ground zero again. Now for the top comments before reading the update. I'll be honest, OP. She's still pretty immature and clearly has no concept of the value of money. I know you say you want to marry this girl, but bro, you are 20 years old. There's a freaking big world out there to explore. If this is her stance on money and she refuses to educate herself on the value of money, I wouldn't be sticking around and letting her leech her hard work away. $30,000 is not a lot of money, and you are certainly not rich. Don't know where you live, but in my city, that would only be an 8-month cushion if tragedy strikes. If you are both still living at home, try sitting down with her and draw up a budget for what it would cost to live in your own place together. Get some help, as there are expenses you don't even know about at this point. Just see how far your savings would really go. Good on you for being so great with your money so far. Keep it up. I was OP. At 20 years old, tragedy did strike. I became permanently disabled. The savings I had worked so hard for went to pay off my car and some of the medical bills that never stopped accumulating. I'm now 37 and I'll never have significant savings again because I'll never go more than a couple of months without having major surgery. OP, you never know what might happen. Hopefully nothing like what happened to me. Very few people get sick like this. But a major accident, a house fire, you just never know. Even my dog's surgery cost thousands of dollars, but it saved his life. That money is a safety net that gives you the ability to choose what to do in a horrible situation. Will you save your dog or put him down? Without the money, you have to put him down. When you're in an accident, will you buy a new car or will you struggle with public transportation for a while? If you get laid off, will you take the first job you're offered or wait for something that actually seems like a good fit? That money is the cushion that allows you to choose your next move carefully, instead of being forced into whatever decision is cheapest. Make no mistake, eventually something bad happens to everyone. Obviously, everyone hopes it will be a minor bad thing. But the more prepared you can be, the easier it is to bounce back. Not the a-hole. Never had a more red flag than "we are rich." No, honey, that's nowhere near rich, and not your money whatsoever. From her immaturity, she's legal, right? Oh yes, she's 20 and I'm 20. She just gets everything she wants from her parents and never really worked for anything really. While me, on the other hand, has had to work for everything I want/need. If she thinks $30,000 is rich, she doesn't understand money, and clearly still a child, not an adult. $30K is a down payment for a $150,000 house, which in most markets is literally a hole in the ground. That won't even buy you a new car in cash. It's awesome you have it saved, and it's stupendous for someone your age, but you ain't rich. I would put a good chunk into some investments, maybe even get a financial advisor that could get your money working for you. The lack of money experience isn't surprising, almost to be expected. He is way more financially mature than 99% of 20 years old in the US. The red flag is a girlfriend immediately laying claim to half a dude's money, when not a dime of it is hers. But she isn't laying claim to half of it. She suggested that she no longer needs to work. Not that she and OP can now retire together. In her mind, that money's all hers. Edit/mini update. People commenting saying I should offer rent to my sister because of the money I have saved up. I agree, but she won't let me pay rent. Her and husband are well off due to him being a VP at a wedding company with government contracts, and my sister is retired military working as a chairwoman of her charity. They don't want me to pay rent and focus on my future. Also, to the comments questioning why I've only $30K saved up, I pay for most of my big purchases outright, as I don't like acquiring debt. On a different note, I will be taking my girlfriend out to eat on Saturday per her request, as she wants to talk about everything that transpired, so we'll update most likely on Sunday or Monday. Thank you everyone for your advice. It's greatly appreciated, and I will be taking it all into consideration. Now for the full update. Good morning to all you lovely gents and ladies. I'm up early this morning because it is a stressful night and I couldn't get comfortable to save my life. My girlfriend and I decided that we're going to take a break. I was trying to not let the outside influences influence me, but I noticed she ordered a lot more food than she usually does, and didn't even take a bite of some of it. Her excuse was, "You're fine. It was only $150 for both of us." That was my eye-opener. So I paid, with a generous tip, but I saw a lot of comments saying she already spent that money in her head, or she will drain it slowly but surely until it's all gone. I hate that money was the reason for us breaking up, but a lot of people were saying facts I couldn't ignore. Her whole attitude changed with me and felt like she was Elon Musk's wife. I told her at the table after we ate, "I still love you and will always care about you, but you need to grow up a little bit before we get back together." She started crying and left. I then received messages from her mother asking if I'm seeing somebody else. Because this is out of the blue for someone like me. I don't know if she's saying I shouldn't be able to leave her daughter rather than her daughter is supposed to leave me, but I didn't even respond back. I don't care for the drama, nor for the arguing which is happening with my girlfriend. Sorry, ex-girlfriend. I was told I'm just like my dad, a bum, a sorry loser, etc. I could keep going, lol. I'm none of those things. I might be a little bit interesting, but I haven't even really responded to my ex with anything but yes ma'am or you're right. I don't feel like I'm the bad guy because I'm not fighting for a relationship that is now seen as dollar signs. But to everyone who said I was the a-hole, I see where you're coming from and I learned to be more transparent about not being broke rather than not spending that money. I just think it's rude to say, I have the money, I just don't want to spend it. I'll think of ways to say that without saying that. Now, to everyone who said I should give my sister rent money, I swear I'm not selfish and just being greedy with my money. Whenever her kids and I go to Walmart, I tend to always get them a toy. Last week I bought them a Lego set. Probably not a good idea because they're 1 and 3 years old, but hey, as long as they're having fun and don't swallow them, we're good. But I buy everyone things. Even if they're not the most expensive, they're all sentimental. I just bought my brother-in-law and I matching Team USA basketball jerseys because we're both hyped for the Olympics. They just don't want me to pay rent, and I'm not going to argue with them about that, but I still buy them stuff as well to make up for that. To everyone who said leave her, y'all were right. I hate to say it, but money is all some can see when they have seen it. She was blinded by a make-believe life of luxury I don't have to offer. I'm not saying she's a gold digger or a bad person, just immature and young. I'm also going to take the advice of putting it in a different account I can earn interest on to keep up with inflation. I thank everyone for their advice and prayers. It was much needed, and I hope to everyone who has a nice penny saved up to keep grinding and scratching your way to the top. I hope to see y'all there one day. Last story. Am I the a-hole for not trusting my husband after he depleted our savings to pay for his dog's surgery? My mother-in-law asked my husband a year and a half ago to watch over her dog for her when she went to surgery and rehab following surgery. She's a healer. I apparently didn't have any say in it because I didn't even know until the dog was at my house. I had a problem with this from the beginning. The dog was completely untrained. There were multiple times that the dog would jump up on our table and steal food out of the kids' plates and growl at you when you corrected her. She went after my cats multiple times. She poops in the house constantly, no matter how often she was outside. She would do zoomies around the yard for easily 40 minutes, come inside and immediately squat to poop. And she nipped me and my husband's faces. Not the kids, oddly enough. Hard enough to draw blood to. If he pulled away before she got you, you could hear her teeth smashing against each other. I didn't want the dog and expressed it hundreds of times. But he refused to get rid of her because of his mother, despite his mother having been out of rehab for over a month at that point. Well, his mom told us 3 months ago that she would be taking this dog back in April. But 2 weeks ago, she comes to our house and, surprise, surprise, she has a new dog. She told us, well, you've had her for so long that I figured you could just keep her. I just found out I was pregnant a month prior to this. I told my husband there was no way we were keeping this dog. I never even wanted a dog here. He eventually said okay, and he found a nice couple who owned a giant farm to take her for an overnight to see if it was a good fit 3 days ago. We got a call the very next morning saying that the dog was hit by a car. He rushed us to go get her and bring her to the emergency vet. She needed amputation, surgery on her front paw, surgery on her pelvis, metal plates put in, etc., etc. The total for the surgeries was almost $13,000. They told us prior to doing any of the work that they had a healer rescue who was willing to take her if we couldn't afford the surgeries. I go back out to the car at this point because I was feeling nauseous from not eating anything and being pregnant. He comes out like a half hour later and tells me that it paid $700 to $800 towards the cost, our savings, and open an animal care credit card to cover the rest, which has 26% interest if you don't pay the cost back in full in 6 months. Now he's saying he can't get rid of her because she has been through too much and she's my friend. I'm so wildly repulsed by this that I can't even look at him the same anymore. This is a divorce territory to me. All of our savings are now gone, and we are going to be looking at that because of this 26% interest credit card he opened. And now he expects me to deal with carrying the dog around and squatting around the yard for her to go to the bathroom when I already have hypertension from pregnancy and I have been deemed high risk. I told him I don't think I can stay with him after this. I do not trust him at all anymore. There were options. They had a healer rescue willing to take the dog and cover the cost. But he instead threw us into debt over a dog that he told me he was getting rid of and I'm all set. He said I'm an a-hole for not seeing his point on this. I do see his point. He loves the dog obviously. But we are pregnant. And he just depleted our savings over a dog that bites faces. And I don't think I want to be with him anymore. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. I'm a dog lover, but this dog seems to be putting you and your kids at risk. I'm wondering if he didn't ask his mother for the dog and used the guise of, we're taking care of it while she's recovering. Not the a-hole. Also a dog lover, which is why when I moved in with my partner, we had an adult conversation about getting one, which breed fit our lifestyle and timing for us to be in the right place in life to properly care for one. I cannot imagine just coming home one day with an animal and telling my partner just deal with it, especially when you have young children in the home. That would have been divorce territory. Using the savings and opening the credit card without even discussing it is beyond. I'm a dog and cat lover too, but if a grown animal is a biter and food aggressive and is impossible to house train, out he goes. I'd take him to a no-kill animal shelter and let them deal with him. But depleting the savings account and going into debt over a sick or injured dog where there are alternatives is insane. One has bills, a mortgage I assume, and growing kids. This man is a child when it comes to adult decisions. If they have college accounts for the kids, I see him depleting them on a whim. He is an a-hole. It would be kinder to euthanize an animal that is that badly hurt, and he certainly had no right to use your savings and take on debt without consulting you. Plenty of reasons to divorce him. And if it was fixable and that rescue wanted to take on the costs, then freaking let them deal with it. I love dogs. My girl is my baby. But barring some crazy exception like me trying to break up a dog fight with my hands or something where she's terrified / in pain and trying to protect herself, if she bit me, she'd be euthanized. I could not, in good faith, pass her along to another home knowing she's capable of that. If I rehomed her and even years later found out she did someone serious harm, I'd never be able to forgive myself. I really resent being lied to and find it unforgivable when someone who loves me does it. Your husband is lied to, deceived, and disregarded you. For me, he's basically looked you in your face and said, I don't care about you and you don't matter. 1. He agreed to take on the dog's care without ever consulting you. 2. He didn't return the dog when he said he would. 3. He's ignored and disregarded how you feel / what you want at every step. 4. He spent every dime of your joint savings without a word to you and took on an additional $5,000 to $6,000 debt at 26% without even a thought of you. How hard would it have been to say 1 sec and walk out to the car to discuss? In your shoes, he'd have told me everything I need to know. Update. My male 25 girlfriend, female 25, decided to quit her career after I became a millionaire. How do I tell her this won't work out? Original post. I met my girlfriend Kylie, fake name, at community college 7 years ago. We became really close friends and started dating 2 years later. Back then, she wanted to become a nurse, which I fully supported because she was so passionate about it. I later transferred to a 4-year university and earned my MBA. Kylie supported me emotionally the entire time I was in school, which I'm really grateful for. Her parents eventually cut her off financially due to her spending habits, so she took a year off to work and help cover her bills. Meanwhile, I invested all my savings, time, and energy into a startup platform in the automotive industry with my best friend. Earlier this year, we were bought out for a life-changing amount of money. Both of us were kept on as consultants with high salaries. Kylie kept her job at the jewelry store throughout this time. But after the buyout, she told me she was putting in her 2 weeks' notice. I offered to cover her school expenses so she could go back and finish her nursing degree. At first, she was excited about going back to school. I even bought a condo for us, a big step up from our apartment, close to her campus. But over the weekend, she mentioned that she wasn't sure about returning to school after all and suggested she could be a stay-at-home wife. We're not married. I didn't say anything at the time because I didn't know how to respond. Part of what initially attracted me to her was her ambition. Now, it doesn't sit right with me that she quit her job and career goals after I came into money. Her shopping and spending have also increased, and she's been looking at new cars. I might be overreacting, but something just doesn't feel right. I still love her and want this to work out, but I don't like this new side of her I'm seeing. Now for the top advice before reading the update. Not sure what kind of advice you want here. It's pretty easy to tell her that you never wanted a stay-at-home spouse. You wanted a partner that's also contributing to the household and that you really valued her ambition toward having her own career and independence. You need to have a really frank discussion that as of right now, your assets are not shared wealth. That you're happy to help her go back to school, but that you intend for your lifestyle to be whatever, and that you intend to invest further into your future. So here's another detail I left out. Her mom was a stay-at-home mom. Her dad is very well off, so I don't think she sees anything wrong with her decision. That's the family life she was raised in. When we first got together, she said she wanted to be the complete opposite of her mom. She wanted to be independent and have a career. In the future, if we end up having kids after getting married, I don't mind her to be a stay-at-home mom. But for now, that's way too far down the line. I mean, generally there is nothing wrong with being a stay-at-home partner/spouse. But that has to be a mutual decision. Stay-at-home parent? Absolutely nothing wrong with that. 25-year-old stay-at-home boyfriend/girlfriend? No, there is very much something wrong there. Now you see why her parents cut her off financially. She's a mooch. Sit her down and explain that you are willing to pay the basics and only if she goes back to school. But you will not be paying for anything more and she needs to continue to work. After all this time, school should have been finished. Side story for the reason she got cut off. She ran over her friend with her car. Kylie says it was unintentional. The friend disagrees with that. Friend ends up suing Kylie's parents on the basis of them owning the car Kylie was driving. Anyways, Kylie's parents ended up settling with a friend for $250K. They told Kylie she needed to get a job and get her own car after this. Well, that's a story. Wow, sir. Yeah, definitely a hurdle in our relationship, but we made it through. My sister is this way. She's 35 now and hasn't worked in over a decade. Her husband works 12 to 16-hour days and then comes home to do all the chores because my sister is too tired from Pilates and shopping to do chores. Poor guy. Don't be in a relationships with gold diggers. This will be your future. Also, you should not date people who run other people over with their cars. Wholly burying the lead, Batman. Now for the update. First, I'd like to thank everyone for their time and advice. I truly appreciate everyone's input. I had a serious conversation with my girlfriend Kylie about our future on Thursday night. I told her she needed to figure out a plan, whether that meant finding a job or going back to school. I also mentioned that if she chose to return to school, I would support her financially, including paying for her degree. I gave her until December to figure out her plan. She ended up getting really defensive, telling me that she's the reason I'm where I am in life, and that I should pay for her lifestyle since she's been there from the start. She also said she'd wasted 5 years of her life with me and could have been married and had a family by now. I was shocked, as I'd never seen this side of her before. She was having a complete meltdown. I ended the conversation by telling her that I'd tried my best to make this relationship work, but it won't work under these conditions. Unlike her, I come from a very middle-class family. Both of my parents had jobs and contributed equally. It felt like she had become a completely different person, and that's when I realized money had really changed her. I told her I had a business trip, which she already knew about, and asked her to have all her things moved out by the time I got back on Tuesday, leaving the keys with a mutual friend I trust. I canceled her credit card that same night. The car she currently drives still has $6,000 left on the loan, but luckily, it's in her name, so I'm not responsible for it. I've been making the payments on it for the last 6 months, but I'm done with that now. I also don't feel too bad, as her parents would never let her be homeless. On Friday, her sister called me multiple times. I initially ignored her calls, but eventually answered since they were at my condo. Her sister told me that Kylie had been crying all day and wanted to work things out. I told her it was too far gone for that. Then today, her best friend called asking if I'd meet for drinks, which I thought was odd. Her friend told me she had some things to show me that had been keeping her up at night. I told her I'd think about it, but honestly, I don't care at this point. Finding out about anything Kylie might have done behind my back would only cause more pain. When I get back, I plan to put the condo on the market, as I have no use for it anymore. I honestly have no interest in dating for now. It's too difficult for me to discern people's true intentions. Thanks again for all the help and support. This will probably be the end of this post. Side note, there were a lot of questions about Kylie hitting her friend with her car. I didn't know her when it happened. Kylie initially attended a private university for her first semester of college. She told me she accidentally put her car in drive instead of reverse and ended up hitting her friend. Kylie was super apologetic, and a friend forgave her on the spot. However, the friend's mom found out about the incident and learned that Kylie's dad is a CEO of a major corporation. She decided to sue her parents. The lawsuit was settled out of court for $250,000. Afterward, Kylie left the private college and moved back home, which is when she and I met. I don't think it was intentional on her part, but after seeing a different side of her recently, I'm not sure of anything anymore. I would take a moment and lock down your credit. Be prepared to put up cameras. Be ready for a mess when you get home. Have your phone ready to video in case you need proof later. I hope that I am overestimating how badly she will take this, but it seems like she currently has no clear path to a better life, and she may strike out at you as the reason. You are right in all you have done. Just don't count it as over yet. Yeah, maybe I've spent too much time on Reddit reading crazy stories, but breaking up with her and then leaving her alone in your apartment seems like it wasn't the smartest decision. What's to stop her from changing the locks and demanding you go through a formal eviction process and dragging this out? Or wrecking the whole place before she goes? It would have been smarter to have her out before you left, or to have waited to break up with her until you came back. Even if nothing bad happens now, in the future if you ever land yourself in a situation like this, don't dump someone and then leave on a trip, leaving them alone inside your apartment. I'm guessing she was either cheating or trying to baby trap and friend feels guilty knowing. It does have me curious. BFF is losing sleep over it and is willing to throw Kylie under the bus because of it. Or does she just want a chance to buddy up to Obi? It's either to create unnecessary drama or to get in where her girl missed out. No matter what else it might be, it's really one of those two things or both. I'd say leave it be. Walk away carefree. Next story. My 23 female boyfriend, 27 male, charged me $100 for ruining his shirt in the wash. My boyfriend and I were together for almost 3 years. I recently graduated college and I'm taking a gap year while I apply to dental school. Right now, I'm working as a dog sitter while studying for the dental school entrance exam, so I've only been paying about 20% of our rent for the past 4 months. By January, I expect to have a full-time job after my exam and will contribute more to the rent. In exchange for him covering more of the rent, I do pretty much all the house chores. Cooking on weekdays, doing laundry, vacuuming, taking out the trash, etc. Even though we agreed this arrangement would be temporary, he never fails to bring up how little rent I pay. I also use $200 from my EBT to cover groceries each month. Not a lot, I know. We rarely go out to eat, maybe twice in the past 3 months, so he's not spending much on dining out either. That's the dynamic of our finances right now. Recently, I accidentally got a pink mark on the collar of one of his work shirts while doing laundry. It must have come from the detergent, and he ended up charging me $100 for it, because it was an expensive shirt. I felt really offended. It seemed so stingy, especially since I've bought him clothes several times without needing a special occasion. He, on the other hand, only gets me gifts for my birthday or Christmas, which is fine, but the fact that he charged me for a laundry mistake stung. The day he charged me for the shirt, I just brought him a Colombian hot dog that I wanted him to try. I'd planned on taking just one bite, since I'm not big on hot dogs. But after he asked me for the $100, I ended up eating it myself, right in front of him. I told him he could reheat some leftovers if he was hungry. I felt petty, but I was hurt. This is so wild to me. I accidentally put the wrong cycle on for my husband's cashmere jumper once and somehow didn't get indentured to eternal servitude, even though the jumper was ruined. It was an accident, and a sincere apology was enough. Once, a sock got trapped with his underwear and the entire load of laundry came out covered in fluff, and I still wasn't sacrificed at the altar of good housekeeping. Then again, my husband also contributes around the house even though I am a stay-at-home mom. Something tells me this man will continue berating your efforts as well as expecting you to do everything you're already doing long after you secure a job too. My wife and I have both made mistakes when handling the laundry. We laughed it off and move on. Although when I browned her grilled cheese too much, she complains to management, our dog. Then I have to fire the chef until next week. If he ever marries you, it won't be a real marriage. He'll demand a prenup and treat you like a freeloader for staying home to raise his children. I'd make plans to leave. She's going to have dentist money eventually, but he'll expect to spend all of it, even though he doesn't share with her. Yep, he's waiting to ride the wave. Update: we've since ended a relationship. It wasn't just about the shirt. There was a buildup of issues and a lot of miscommunication between us. I feel heartbroken. Last story. My 28 male bum of a brother, 26 male, just announced that he is dating an 18-year-old girl. I went to her and scared her off by being honest about who my brother is. Family is disgusted that I am trying to keep him from being happy. How do I explain this was in the best interest for everyone? My brother is a mooch, plain and simple. He is the baby of the family and no one ever wants to say or do anything that might upset him. Every time a great opportunity has come his way, he's blown it by being lazy, sleeping in, playing video games, you name it. He still lives with our parents, only reaching out to me or the family when he needs money. That's just who he is, unfortunately. Recently, he started dating a girl we've known since childhood, a family friend. She's in her first year of university, and somehow they ended up together. I don't know how or when they started talking, but I know she's too young and naive to be with someone like him. I've seen him ruin relationships by dragging women down with his lifestyle. Time and again, his ex-girlfriends have quit their jobs or dropped out of school shortly after they started dating him. This girl is smart, driven, and passionate about journalism. And the last thing she needs is his influence. So, I drove over to her parents' house and spoke to her. I explained exactly who my brother is, why she should be cautious, and what could happen if she gets involved with him. I made it clear she could make her own decision, but I wanted her to know what she'd be getting into before things got more serious. I thought that was the end of it, but the next day I got a flood of texts from my parents, my brother, and the rest of the family, all accusing me of trying to ruin his life when he's supposedly trying to get back on his feet. They're angry with me for pushing away a source of happiness for him. The thing is, I've seen this cycle over and over. He'll say he's going to change, and then the family rallies around him, giving him money and support, only for him to throw it all away because of some health issue or the bad job market or some other excuse. At this point, I don't know if it's even worth trying to explain myself to them. They all seem completely blind to who he really is. I could really use some advice on how to handle this because it feels like no one is willing to see things from my perspective. If she were the same age, I would say you should back way off. But a young girl with little dating experience is easy prey for dudes like this. And I'm sure your brother was spinning all kinds of lies and exaggerations to her. As a former naive 18-year-old girl, I think you are not wrong to try and protect her by opening her eyes. I also think the chances she told your brother and he used it to spin a narrative that benefits him and makes you the jealous jerk who has it in for him is 100%. The likelihood she gives him more chances because she likes the attention is also high. This is classic dumb kid behavior. You told the truth though, and even if they don't break up immediately, she'll have what you said in her mind. So she'll be looking for the issues you told her about. As far as how to explain it, I would say you are protecting a young person's best interests. And if your brother doesn't like it, he is free to date a woman with life experience, and you'll stay out of it. I wouldn't expect them to ever understand or agree, however. I think this is the most important part. She's only 18. If she was 25, different story. Protect the youth. I'm so proud of you for speaking the truth. How is dating an 18-year-old with no life experience supposed to help a 26-year-old man get back on his feet? Maybe your brother is all that, But dude, you clearly have personal issues with your brother, and everything you say here is BS to justify your messing with him. You went the extra mile to mess with him, and it's hard for me to believe you did it out of the goodness of your heart or to protect a young damsel. This is the exact things I hear when I try and speak up about how manipulative my brother is. Lol. Believe what you want. I try to be as subjective as possible. I know who I am, and I know who my brother is. I do hate him, but it's not like I always did though. At a certain point, it just dawned on me that he is who he is, and he doesn't give a rat's ass about me or anyone else no matter how much you try to help. I will not. I've seen too many of his girlfriends and family thinking they can change him, and wasting years of their lives believing they're making a difference. Update. Am I the a-hole for leaving my girlfriend after she got date raped? Original post. My girlfriend, explicitly because I was spending my weekend with family who had flown in from out of state and country, decided to go out. She spent however much of the day at the mall with some guy she said she just wanted to be friends with. He took her back to his place where there was apparently a party. She turned off her location. I noticed when I went to send her a good night message and asked her if everything was okay and if she was safe. She affectionately said she was. I asked her if her home Wi-Fi was down again. She told me she had turned it off so her parents wouldn't know where she was. I asked her where she was and she never answered me. From the bits she's told me, the music was loud. He told her he wanted to show her his room because of how hilariously tiny it was. She went up with him, and he started going after her sexually. She said it was late and her parents were worried about her and she wanted to go home, but from what I understand, he pressured her into saying yes. That's coercion and rape. I got a message that morning telling me she had cheated, but her friends told her it was rape. I messaged her, drew her hugging geese, told her I wanted to make sure she was okay, and call. I offered to drive over. She told me she was with her good friend, different guy obviously, and spending the day with him. I kept messaging, worried about her, to no response, until I stopped to not pressure her. I barely got through work that day and got myself drunk that night, first time properly sloshed, to stop worrying. When trying to be with family, I only had a day with between months or years. She called me when I was drunk and asked me to come over, offered to Uber me over, told me she needed me. I told her I was drunk and couldn't be there. I had also promised my family members not to talk to her if they let me at the hard whiskey. She called me, and I was apparently asking too many questions and told me to just spend the next day with family. The next day while I was with family, she begged me to come over. By that point, I was already talking to family, including my sister, who was abused, including violated by her ex, trying to understand. They all told me she breached my trust. In all fairness, they're biased because they feel she's abusive. In a previous AITA post, all responses told me I was being abused, if they believed the story at all. I broke up with her then, but she told me she needed me to sit next to her that night, or she wouldn't be able to finish her take-home midterm. She aced it while I worked right next to her. We talked and cuddled, and I thought things would improve, and some aspects definitely did. My sister told me breaking up with her, then comforting her, would just lead me back into the cycle and hurt her too. And I thought through all the stories I had hidden from them and my friends of how she did me wrong, and I yelled at them that they were wrong, and I just slid down onto the ground and wrote this message. You did not deserve to be raped. What he did was awful, and it is never your fault. But girlfriend, you went up to his room alone with him, after you two spent however much of the day together. You made fun of me for how oblivious I was at the start, but even I would have caught that. You didn't tell him about me because you didn't want to ruin his opinion by being too complicated. You can say my boyfriend is worried about me without explaining our entire relationship. You could make it clear you were taken, but you didn't, when you have actively complained to me about how men often only befriend women for sex. And again, none of that excuses what he did, and I am so sorry that happened to you. But that doesn't change that you cheated on me. Not physically, but emotionally. My family doesn't know so many of the other cheating adjacent things either, and so many friends are telling me the exact same thing. When you called me, I melted at your voice and forgot it all. But our relationship died when you walked into that room. It should have died when you refused full exclusivity, and it should have died when you kissed that guy on our break. If I go over there now, I will be betraying my sister and other relatives when I promised so many times I wouldn't leave her again. And besides, there's nothing I as your ex can possibly do to genuinely support you right now, especially with how shattered my trust is. I'm sorry I made a promise to you I couldn't keep. You were right. Your trauma is valid, and if you need to, please talk to a professional at the sexual assault hotline. Thank you for the lessons, the fun, your amazing cooking, and the geese. And Poodle, wish you the very best. Goodbye. I don't think we should stay in contact, even though it burns me inside to say this. I'll send you your stuff, including replacement Tupperware, and I'll figure out with someone to grab my stuff too. Now for the top comments before reading the update. Jesus Christ, that was too much. I dumped her in my mind when you said she was hanging out with some other guy and turned her location off. She literally went on a date with another guy, then followed him to his home, turned off her location, followed him into his room and slept with him, and is now screaming rape. Like, I normally wouldn't want to victim blame, but it really sounds like she just went on a date, slept with another guy, then decided to say she was forced, just in case anything ever came up due to her turning off her location. She just had to see his tiny room. See you next month, when you're back with the abusive little idiot, although I hope not. Yeah, last time I made a post like this, I went right back because she promised to change. And while she did check herself into therapy like I asked her to, now she's just about burned the bridge. And even though I blocked her on everything, she's still putting photos into the shared album. It genuinely makes me cringe now when I see her face, so I think I'm safe on that. And if not, I am in the process of having a conversation with my entire friend network piece by piece so that they can get my head on straight if I even think about going back. Currently, I'm throwing myself into helping my sister with her wedding by illustrating their guest/songbook and hitting the gym to get back the six-pack I had before I met her. Can you remove yourself from this shared album? I want to talk to a therapist, which is why I haven't left the album or removed our text logs, since I want to be able to talk about things with a good timeline and exact words. I'm honestly extremely confident I won't fall back into the cycle again. Feasibly, I don't imagine a way for her to contact me again bar, I don't know, commenting on an old shared Google Doc, since I don't know how to block on there. Now for the update. So, something like 2 months ago, I made a post here. In short, while I had family I barely saw in town over the weekend, my ex hung out with a friend. Her location went off, then she told me she had cheated, but then that she'd been raped the next morning. Then contact stopped. Then I got drunk because I was just glassy-eyed and was trying to enjoy the time I barely got with family. Then she suddenly wanted me over, etc. I ended up coming to the conclusion that she had been date raped while cheating on me. And with my family support, especially my sister, who had been victimized herself in the past, I ended things and dumped her. I thought that was a lot when it happened, but things went insane afterwards. So I ended up spending the day with family. And that night, I went to my cousin's grandmother's 79th birthday. She and her husband were basically surrogate grandparents to me. That section of the family was always close, so they were almost grandparents to me. Her husband threw this massive party, seemingly out of nowhere. That was the night I wrote the original post. 2 days later, his heart stopped. I was already a mess, between trying to process what happened with my ex, wanting answers and closure, and also dealing with a flat tire. Then he was in the hospital with guaranteed brain damage, and then he was gone. I basically collapsed the first week after the post, skipping all my university classes and only going to work. I attended his vigil every night after he was taken off life support at the end of the week. He was brain dead, but my family wanted to keep him alive until relatives from out of town could get back. During this time, my ex got around my block, messaging me on Steam, which I forgot to block her on. She said she just wanted to tell me the full story and recounted her story of the incident in extreme detail. She explicitly avoided telling me any information about the affair, lest I discover who it was. However, in telling me that, I was able to piece together who it was. A guy she had been in the talking phase with when we were talking too, who told her he had no interest in being friends when she chose me. Months before this incident, she had called a break, went on a date and kissed him. I should have left her then, but through guilt and promises, and what I later learned was a trauma bond built through abuse, I took her back. She swore to block him and yada yada. But I wanted answers, and I was feeling so completely dead trying to process everything. I let her convince me to talk in person under the guise of closure. She cried and begged and promised and pleaded. I sat there like a rock for hours, tried walking out several times, but she withheld information while dripping it to me just quickly enough to make it feel like progress. Over the next week, I uncovered the story. She had been seeing him in secret for the month before. She claimed it was all platonic. She put incredible effort into seeing him. She talked smack about me too. But what really gets me is that she took the train into my city, where he lived too, greeted him at the station, never wanted me to pick her up from her city anymore, 80 miles away, then shamed me for never picking her up, and painting herself as sacrificing for me by taking the train when she was meeting her affair at the station. I worked when the train pulled in. It was her spring break, so she was back in town for a week. She love-bombed me for that whole time, presented herself as a safe harbor in the emotional storm she caused. I was 3 weeks behind on my classwork by then, and I was only able to be productive around her, so I stayed there to stay afloat, falling into her hoover. But then I saw her promises be broken. I saw the mask begin to slip, and I started collecting my stuff so she could not keep it hostage. I began mentally preparing to leave. Then the emotional abuse started again. The devaluation, the gaslighting. But I tried a few times to present myself, only to be emotionally attacked for a week. Then she realized I was leaving, and it flipped into gaslighting, claims of loyalty and love. When she claimed I was presuming to know her mind by saying she didn't love me, nor was loyal to me, I remember sending this. I'm not a mind reader, but if your brand of loyalty involves betrayal and cheating repeatedly, I don't want that loyalty. I ended up aggregating every letter I never sent her into a 43-page document. I read through it all, and I did what she never could. I listened to my younger self. I felt his pain. I became the person he had needed for 7 months. Someone who could truly listen. I supported him. I proved to myself that I could love myself, and that I was enough. That was what gave me closure. Myself, not her. Closure never comes from another person, only from you. Then I cut contact, more thoroughly that time. No contact will be a month and 3 days. She tried contacting me by using my phone number at CVS to send me a receipt, adding me on chess.com, and reacting to my Duolingo streak, but I just kept going. It was hard at first, but I got myself into therapy, where I started at medium depression but have been cleared completely. Started attending Codependence Anonymous meeting. Reconnected with friends and family better than I ever had before in my life. I also realized that I was likely dealing with someone with comorbid BPD and NPD, especially since she would explicitly revoke her empathy and love at times, among many other things you can read by going through my post and comment history. But she's not important anymore. What matters is that I took all that energy and love I had given her and put it into myself, and I'm now doing better than I ever have been. I'm on top of myself and I'm busy, but I'm loving it. I went from a 78 on my math exam at the beginning of no contact to a 106.5 a few days ago. I barely think of my ex anymore, and while I'm not looking for romance, someone approached me the other day, and I had an amazing time with her then, so I'm open to see where things go. Apart from that, my sister's wedding is in 2 weeks. I've been incredibly busy illustrating for that. Drew for 8 hours today. My finals are at the same time, and I'm also pursuing a Microsoft contract, so life is amazing but exhausting. I'm driving out to the desert with my friend tomorrow though, and he's going to introduce me to a bunch of motor and water sports, so I'm honestly really excited. Plus I'm getting a ton of friends together on Sunday to meet up after a while. Life is really good. I just wanted to thank everyone who commented and DM'd me on the original post. So many of you helped me. Several people wanted an update then, so here it is. Dude, she was never raped. She got caught cheating, so claimed it was to get out of it. She was seeing the guy for a while, so very likely banged him multiple times. She was nothing but a lying, cheating, manipulative piece of trash. I have an ex who did that. He went to a Narcotics Anonymous meeting and just disappeared for 3 days. When he finally reached out to me, he exploded on me that he'd been raped. Knowing I'm a survivor, he assumed this would make me sympathetic and forgiving. It didn't. I told him if he really had been, he needed to file a police report. I never heard another word about it. He's ruining someone else's life now. My takeaway from this post is if someone wants, they would. She called him from CVS with a receipt, Duolingo'd, on Steam, showed up. The only means missing was sending an actual pigeon. On a serious note, this woman sounds completely deranged. I hope this dude gets his healing and stays far, far away. My sister's ex occasionally contacted her through one-cent Zelle transaction memos. That's disturbingly persistent. Like, I know that stalker laws really aren't great anywhere really, but I feel like that level of commitment to harassment should be able to actionable damn near everywhere. Last story. Am I the a-hole for breaking up with my girlfriend over a note a pilot left for her? Plus update. We are not teenagers anymore, so maybe this is too much. I am 31 and she is 30. We were flying yesterday after a 4-day vacation, and while I was in the toilet at a coffee shop within the airport, she was left a note by a pilot, and she smiled at him. I am not controlling and insecure, or so I hope. I asked out of curiosity, and she told me it was her subway ticket that had fallen under the table. He picked it up for her. She indeed had her ticket on the table, so I didn't really think too much about it, but her cheeks were a bit flushed. And this morning I found a real note he left for her. It had fallen out of her pocket. I was doing the laundry. It was crumpled and written by hand, "Drive you like a hammer on a bed of nails," plus a wink emoji. I googled that, and it was a reference to an Alice Cooper song. I still haven't decided what to do. I will try to talk with her before ending this 6-year-old relationship. Sorry for the misleading title. I have not told her anything yet. I'm waiting for her to wake up and understand what happened. Now for the comments before reading the update. Not the a-hole, but she is. Simply for lying when you're in a relationship. If she had told you what it said from the beginning, it'd be no big deal. She made it secretive and weird. I still haven't decided what to do. I will try to talk with her before ending this 6-year relationship. Let the BS excuses begin. Now for the update. This is my house, and I told her to move out by tomorrow. She admitted to it all, the affair and everything. But surprise, surprise, he doesn't want to take her to live with him. They know each other. I did ask to see her phone, as controlling as that is. She had chats with him. It wasn't anything sexual though. So she keeps denying and blaming me for her lying, saying that I'm controlling. She flies often due to her job, so this is how they met. I believe his move was a power move actually. He wanted me to see him. He's better looking than me and fitter than me. Time to be depressed and move on, I guess. Although now she's begging me not to, that she only wants me. You did the right thing, OP. Now she'll experience the real bed of nails she deserves. She is crying now and begging me to not throw her out. I gave her 1 day. She didn't deserve it, but fine. She can go to her parents in her small town. She will not be homeless. She asked me where will she go. Oh, that urge to use the famous line, "Frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn." Write it on a note. Missed opportunity.